Give me minds off top. Check the clock.
Week 2 had more surprises than any of us could have imagined. I mean, if you are in a survivor pool right now, I'm going to bet that you're probably out. Wow. I mean, we're going to talk about it all. But right now, I mean, the top QBs in the league right now are Derek Carr, Kyler Murray, and Baker Mayfield. What? Insane. I don't even know where to begin because there's so many things to talk about in week 2. But of course, we're going to talk about some of the surprising losses in the NFC. The Niners lose to the Vikings, Dallas lose to the Saints, Rams lose to the Cardinals, and the Lions lose to the Bucks. Those were just some of the surprises that we're going to talk about. But obviously, let's talk about the Niners versus the Vikings. I'm on record saying that I'm not worried. Now I'm worried. I'm not worried. I'm concerned. I'm on record saying I'm okay with Christian McCaffrey. Not that I'm okay with it, but he's out. We know this. Probably won't be back to October. And I was okay with it. Meaning that, next man up, Mason gave us 147 yards last week. And I'm on record. This is crazy. I literally said, I know that he'll give us 100 yards this week. Maybe not 147, but at least he'll give us 100. And would you know it? He gave us exactly 100 yards with 20 carries. So the running back position for the Niners, in my opinion, wasn't the issue on the loss. The loss, I mean, we just came out flat. Like, the team we saw Monday night versus the Jets, was nowhere to be found. It was crazy. I'm literally, watching two different teams. Monday night, my 49ers. Sunday, never seen them before. Well, I've seen them before, but not this year. So, what happened? We could try to break it down, but at the end of the day, I feel like the Vikings just came out. The Vikings came out and surprised us. And I just don't think we were prepared, which would go towards what a lot of people are saying. We just might have been out coached. It's always shocking to me because the Niners have an all-star roster. So when we lose a game like this, you have to wonder what happened. We came out flat. I mean, Brock didn't look like Brock. He looked a little bit more confused than I would have liked to have seen. He ended up with 28 for 36, 319 yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. By the way, he's leading the yards in passes as of right now for week 2. Brock is leading that stat. But, Ayuk, nowhere to be found. Debo did his thing, but now Debo's out. So now we've got Debo out and Christian McCaffrey. George Kittle, 100th anniversary, 8 years in the league. And he did his thing, 7 carries, 76 yards. So George did what he needed to do, but what happened? Now, it's only week 2. So, everybody, including myself, we need to calm down. We got it, but we can't lose games like that after a Monday night game. And part of why the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and I hate to talk about them, well, we're going to talk about it, but is consistency, clutch plays. And sometimes I just think we're not as ready as we should be with the roster that we have. Fred Warner did his thing, by the way. Fred had, I think, 1 sack, 1 strip, 1 interception. Bosa had 2 sacks. So, I mean, it wasn't like we got blown out. I mean, we lost 23-17, but it feels like we got blown out. And that's what I don't like. I don't like that we feel like we got killed. I have to give it up to Sam Darnold because Sam came out and really had a great game. And he's had 2 games back to back. By the way, they're 2-0. This is the first time they've been 2-0 since 2016. I think Sam Darnold, he's had it tough. So I'm always about the underdog. I think he's been on 3 teams in the last 3 years. Started, he had the Jets. I think he was with the Panthers. I can't remember. And then he was with us. So that was like a revenge game for him as well. But man, there's just something about losing that way that I think concerns people. And now, not only do we not have Christian McCaffrey, now we don't have Debo. And by the way, Debo is now going to have a podcast, which starts today, which is Tuesday. A lot of people aren't happy about that. My feeling is I'm just the girl that would rather not see you on a podcast during the season. That's just me. I would rather you focus on the task at hand, and that is getting to the Super Bowl. Just my thought. I just feel like it could be a distraction. You say one thing, and then the media gets a hold of it. The other team gets a hold of it, and now we're creating more drama that doesn't need to be. We already have enough drama on the offseason. We don't need it during the season. And by the way, Brandon Ayuk is going to be his first guest. So, that is going to be interesting. Now, I love my team. I love my boys, but I'm always going to keep it real. If I was a coach and owner, I would make it known that I prefer you not to do this, but obviously in the contract there must be something that says you can, free speech, all that good stuff. But I'm just not a fan of it. When Micah Parsons does his things for Dallas, I always roll my eyes and I'm like, you're always starting something. And I'm telling you, teams feed off these things. Teams feed off of little words or one phrase. And I just don't think we need it, But hey, then there's New Heights. So, look at them. They just signed $100 million. So who am I to take money out of somebody's pocket? You know what I mean? So I get it. And by the way, if someone wants to give me $100 million, I'm so here for it, but I'm not playing next week. So I'm just saying. So as far as the Niners go and the Vikings go, it was just an ugly game. That's the thing. It was just an ugly game, and I think many of us were disappointed, but we're not too worried. It's only week 2. Last year we lost 3 in a row, literally in the beginning, mid-season, and ended up in the Super Bowl. So we'll take a deep breath, but we definitely would like to see a beat down against the Rams this week. And I will be at the game, tailgating and all that good stuff. So that's my thought on the Niner Viking. I would like to just see a good, well-coached game because the Rams always give us a hard time. Even though we show out, even though it's a red out, even though it's Little Levi, I call it Little Levi South, whatever you want to call it. We can have all the red in the world, but we better get a W. We better get that dub, and we better show out, and we better look like a Super Bowl contending team after what I saw last week. Those are my thoughts. Okay, so let's talk about the other Super Bowl contending team. Let's talk about the Bengals and the Chiefs game. Of course, all Niner fans are probably going for the Bengals, right? So we look at it from a different lens. But you already know this is going to be a battle. And you can't, I've been saying this forever, and I'm sure everybody feels the same way. You cannot make costly mistakes when it comes to playing the Chiefs. You cannot miss extra points. You cannot miss, if there's a ball on the ground, you better get it. You can't make these mistakes because the Chiefs are so well coached. It will cost you points almost every time. In fact, so much so that when they have a turnover, when they have an interception or a fumble, if you don't capitalize on that, you probably will lose a game because they're that good. They're that well coached. I have to say that I think the Chiefs have the best coached team in the NFL. And Andy Reid is the freaking GOAT. Bill Belichick, great. But Andy Reid, to me, is probably the best coach, like GOAT, right? On top of I think the way he coaches, he just seems like a great guy. And people, give him hamburgers because he loves hamburgers, right? And they literally give him a hamburger all wrapped up in like a gift box because that's his thing, right? But like he has the respect, and I don't think he needs to be a jerk, I guess for a better word of it. You don't have to be like the Belichick way. There's something about Andy Reid, and I don't know him, by the way. There's a disclaimer. There's something about Andy Reid that just seems like a big teddy bear, but you just trust what he's going to say. I mean, every once in a while you see him on the sideline and he gets into it. Well, he actually doesn't get into it, but like Patrick's like, don't take me out. And then that one, which I was very much not happy about when Travis bumped his chest last year, that was not a good look. But he just keeps his cool, But to me, that team is well coached, and that is the difference between these wins and losses, in my opinion. The Bengals had a chance to pull it out. One of the two things that I think changed that game is actually Jamar Chase. I think it was 3rd and long. I can't remember exactly, but Jamar didn't like that there was no call on the play, and he just lost his cool. He lost it, had a temper tantrum on a ref, which you can't do. You have to be smarter than that. You just put your team in jeopardy. And sure enough, it was a penalty, took them back, and that hurt them. They could have literally kept the ball moving, and they didn't because of a mental, relapse, emotional relapse, which goes to the fact that I think he's upset off the field before he even gets on the field. I think he's mad that he didn't get his money. He's had to fight for it. And that's the thing, like all of these off-season extensions that don't happen, I believe, like even the Niners, like you have to find a way to get these guys signed earlier. 1, so that they're in camp. 2, so they start gelling. And 3, because there's residue. I think there's residue. Because it can get ugly and it can get personal. So you've got like kind of a disgruntled wide receiver on the Bengals. You got Burrow, who's just frustrated, can't seem to get a win against, when it counts. He's 0-2 now. Okay? Any team that's 0-2, and for the newbies, 0-2 means you've played 2 games, but you've lost 2. The percentage now drops to like 11.5% that you will make it in the Super Bowl. So these 2 games are very important to come out of the blocks and to have a chance. Now, I think there were 3 teams that actually did it in the last, since the 90s. I think it was Dallas Cowboys, the Patriots, and the Giants, who actually were down by 2 games and ended up in the Super Bowl. I can't remember off the top of my head if they won or not, but I'm just saying, it does make a difference. Furthermore, let me say this about the Chiefs. And this is the other thing. A lot of people spend time talking about Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, all of these things. But, hello, nobody's really talking about the fact that they have one of the best defensive coaches on that sideline. in Spagnolia. I don't know if I said that right. Spagnolia, something like that. He's been there 5 years. I'm pretty sure it's 5 years. Why is that a big deal? I have always said one of the things about being in the NFL that is so annoying as a fan is that you have these couple of years where you finally have a great offensive coordinator and a great defensive coach, and they're working together, plus the head coach, and you've got this team that's gelling. You're getting wins, you're getting the dubs, you're in the playoffs. And as soon as that happens, other teams come for your coach. And then these coaches want the opportunity to become a head coach, right? I get it. You want your own team, right? And so they leave, and then it changes the vibe of your team next year because now you have a new defensive coordinator, now you have a new offensive coach. Whatever the case, you've just messed up that beautiful chemistry that you had on the sidelines, in the play calls, all of it. It could change the way you're going to run the ball or not run the ball the next season. It just changes. And as a defensive player or offensive player, you have a coach that you're used to, and now he's gone. And now you have a coach with a different personality, different schemes, what have you. And it just kind of like resets the whole, team. But the Chiefs have their same defensive coach, which is a big part of why they win, for 5 years. And he's had offers to be a head coach. And he, I believe, obviously, clearly, has turned it down. You know why? Because his ego's in check. I mean, I don't know. I'm just giving you my opinion. His ego is in check. He's getting Super Bowl ring after Super Bowl ring. He loves where he's at. He loves his players. He loves his head coach. And he's like, I'm good. And I'm paid. And I wish others would take a page out of Spagnolia's page, like his book. Because had Robert Saleh stayed with the Niners, where would they be? If DeMeco Ryans stayed with the Niners, where would they be? Well, clearly I'm thinking selfishly because DeMeco Ryans is doing an amazing job in Houston. So it's not for everybody, but it's just something to think about, like as a head coach, but Robert Saleh, he's on the hot seat. I don't think he'll be there for another 2 years. I just don't. I don't know. And there's a lot of head coaches that came from a defensive coach or an offensive coach and struggle. And then they end up back down. So it's a carousel. It is constantly changing. Okay, so there's my rant for that. Let's talk about just a couple of other things. And Bryce Young has been benched. Number 1 overall pick. Wow. Played last year, and now he's 2 games in, and now he's benched. A lot of people are upset. A lot of people don't agree with it. This is a tough situation because you've got a kid who comes out, used to winning. And of course, when you get drafted, the best quarterbacks go to the worst teams so we could try to make the NFL even, right? So you go to the worst team, you're kind of excited because you want to have that competitive spirit and turn that team around, but sometimes it's just not a good fit. Sometimes you don't have an O-line. Sometimes you don't have a wide receiver. Sometimes you don't have a coach. All of those things, I think, are the reason why Bryce Young isn't doing what he wanted to do or what he set out to do. And that's the other thing. Sometimes you don't want your rookie to go in to the game right away. You want him to sit. You want him to be behind a vet. You want him to learn the ropes before you just throw him in. People have to understand, college is one thing. The NFL, completely different. These guys are stronger, faster, and they hit a lot harder. So it's like going from Pop Warner to well, I won't say that, but there is a difference. And veteran players love welcoming the new bees that think they're it in college. So, I feel for him because you just see him on the sideline and he just looks defeated. I understand they want to win. So it's that's a tough situation, and I hope the best for Bryce. But I don't know that the Panthers are going to be much better with, I think it's Dalton. Woo, Tua, we're still waiting to hear from Tua, but it sounds like he's not going to retire. He got another concussion. I think it was on Thursday night, and we feel for him. But it doesn't sound like he's going anywhere. It sounds like he wants to get better and he wants to compete. So everyone's going to be watching for that. We've got the Raiders, who actually beat the Ravens 26-3 in a close one. You've got, Max Crosby just doing his thing over there. You got Antonio Pierce running that team as if, they believe. Cigars are coming out. Like, I'm excited to watch what the Raiders do. The Rams, on the other hand, they've got, Sean McVay, you're out. Puka Nacua, you're out. Their GOAT. I always say Arnold, your lineman. I forget his name right now, but so the Rams are I think the Rams and the Niners this week, it's gonna be a big telling game, honestly. Let's see. The Chargers are 2-0, and you beat the Panthers and you beat the Raiders, so let's not get too crazy, but you are still 2-0. I love what Harbaugh brings to the Chargers. I always said that powder blue and that yellow, it's just like, but with a coach like Harbaugh, it brings the grit. It brings the excitement. So I'm excited to see what they do. Steelers are going back and forth with QBs, but as of right now, it's Justin Fields. And I don't know that even if Russell gets better, that you change quarterbacks. I think you got to stay with the hot hand, and it is what it is. And I've said it. I've been on record saying that I thought that Justin Fields was going to be playing by week 6 no matter what, because in the beginning of the season, Mike Tomlin had said that Russell's going to be their starting quarterback. So that's great, but I believe that I just believe throughout the season we're going to see a few changes. I've said that. I'm still saying that. I don't think you're going to have one quarterback that's going to play all the way through, injuries or not. I think they're still trying to find that perfect fit that works for them. Just my thought. And then let's give it up to some of these guys who, Seattle, 2-0. They're leading the NFC West. Vikings are leading the NFC North. The Saints are leading the NFC South. Kirk Cousins has his $260 million and he's putting up wins. I don't think they've had 18 possessions or something crazy like that, and they've scored for the last 2 games. That's insane. So you've got right now Alvin Kamara, 4 touchdowns. He could be the MVP of the week. You've got Marvin Harrison Jr. doing his thing, 2 TDs. You have to look at Sam Darnold and you have to look at Baker Mayfield. Who would have ever thought I'd be saying this in week 2? What? We're not talking about Patrick Mahomes right now. We're not talking about Josh Allen really right now. We're not talking about Burrows the way we want to be talking about Burrows. We're not talking about Lamar, who's literally 0-2. So this is going to be a crazy week 3. I'm excited for it. I don't know. I hope you're as excited as me. And I'm going to wrap it up. I love all y'all. And happy week 3. And let's go. And as always, keep it sexy. Ow!
I can walk that walk, I can talk that talk. Give me minds off top. Check the clock.